Hello, friends. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. It has just dawned on me that it's been a while since I did a Facebook Live by myself. And we just completed one with the Better Not Bitter Women, the awesome ladies, Pastor Nancy, Pastor Ruth, and Pastor Mercy Dixon. And if you are not able to join us, I would like to invite you to go to our page, Better Not Bitter Women of the Bible, and join our broadcast, or actually join me later on for a watch party. We talked about building strong relationships. We live at a time when it's hard to maintain strong relationships or to build strong relationships. And the question has been for a very long time, even before we talked about it here on this broadcast, is there something that we could do different? Could we fight for each other? Could we support each other? Could we pull each other up instead of pulling each other down? And so I thought after the broadcast that I would come on live and share just a little bit of what we talked about, and especially what I shared, so that I can encourage you to go to our Facebook Live page and watch more of what it was like. We had wonderful, wonderful speakers. Pastor Mercy talking about our relationship with God and how to work on our relationship by involving God. We had Pastor Nancy, who talked in depth about the crab syndrome, and she talked about how when crabs are in a bucket, when one of them tries to climb out, the other ones just pull it back in. And we also talked, Pastor Ruth talked about the different levels of friendship and relationships. And I talked about building strong relationships in the marketplace. And so I want to welcome you to lean in and listen in. I'll just go through what I shared briefly in a nutshell. And the reason I'm doing this again, it's because I've realized it's been a while since I did a Facebook Live by myself. It's always either I'm right beside Daniel or I am beside these wonderful women. And so I decided, hey, let me come on live and do a show. Or rather, I give you a All right, so I started by talking about how one of my favorite authors, Steve Covey, the author of the book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective Successful People, says, and actually let me show you the books. We have a teen version that we've gone through with our teenage boys, such a powerful book. So this is the workbook. And here is the actual book for the teenagers. They've gone through this book right here. It's such a great resource. And then this is my workbook. For some reason, I can't find the actual book, but I do have the actual book. And this workbook has some really good resources on how to become an effective person, to become among the highly effective people. But anyway, Steve Covey, the author of that book, introduces us to a powerful metaphor that describes relationship, and it's called the emotional bank account. I love that metaphor because the first time I read it, it introduced me to a concept I had never heard before: investing in people's lives. Of course, it's not a new concept. We all do nice things for our friends, for our loved ones, but when I read it on Steve Covey's book, I was able to understand what he truly means. And what he means is when you do something, actually he describes this emotional bank account much like a financial bank account, that when you do something positive for a person, it counts as a major deposit for that person. And when you do something negative, it counts as a withdrawal. And when withdrawals exceed deposits, the account is overdrawn and the level of trust deteriorates. So it is vital for us to make huge deposits in each other's emotional bank accounts, so that when we need to make a withdrawal, it will not affect the account. The account will not be on red, but it will still remain on green. So I love that concept. I love that metaphor that Steve Covey shares in his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. And today I would like to encourage us that we take time to make major deposits in people's lives, make major deposits in our friends' lives, make major deposits in the lives of our loved ones. Because when we do so, when that one rainy night comes or that one rainy day comes and we need to make a withdrawal, it will be okay. They will not think that we're doing this on purpose. We will not make our accounts go or run on red. We will not make with major withdrawals and end up with overdrafts, but they will extend grace to us. And so today, during the Better Not Bitter show, Women of the Bible, I did talk about 5 points that can help us develop our relationships, especially in the marketplace. I handled the marketplace, and then our lady pastors talked about the spiritual side of things. And this is what I shared. I talked about the 5 points, and these 5 points that we can use to develop our relationships in our workplaces are: number 1, we want to develop our people skills. And then number 2, we also want to show loyalty when to our friends and our colleagues are absent. In other words, we want to avoid gossiping. And then number 3, we talked about being positive. And number 4, we talked about active listening and seeking to understand before judging. And then number 5, we talked about setting boundaries. Now let's start with the very first one. And the very first one is developing people skills. We want to be relatable. If you want to build strong relationships at work or even with friends, you definitely want to be relatable. Treat everyone with respect. Treat everyone with respect. Be genuinely happy to see people. You know, it's one thing to say that you're happy to see someone. For example, if I was to say, hey, Mary, no, hey, John, I'm happy to see you. Do I really look happy? No. Communication, remember, it's only 7% verbal or 7% words. And then the 93% is how I look, my body language, my tone. And so it is okay. And this is the way it should be. We want to use our whole body to communicate. When you say that you're happy to see someone, let it show. Let your face show that you're really, really happy to see that person. So be genuinely happy to see people, be approachable, smile, and also be ready to do more than you're paid to do. Exceed expectations. Don't be average. Actually, my mentor, Paul McNally, says, don't mass produce average, which is what the world does in today's standards. Let us exceed expectations. Again, the other thing that's also key in this is we want to be promise keepers. Once you say you will do something, fulfill it. Make sure that you go back and honor your promises. Keep your promises. And then finally, under that point, we want to be timekeepers. Respect other people's time. Time is life. Once you spend it with someone, you'll never get it back. And that is why I'm very appreciative of the people that are watching this video, this live broadcast with me right now, because you are investing your time. You're spending that time with me, and that time is time you'll never get back again. And so I thank you and I appreciate you for taking the time to spend these few minutes with me as we talk about how to build strong relationships. And so again, respect other people's life and remember, time is life. Point number two, we want to show royalty when our friends or our colleagues are absent. Avoid gossiping, avoid office politics. One of the major relationship killers, actually the major relationship killers at workplace is gossip or office politics. If you're experiencing a conflict with someone in your organization, or maybe in your church or in your family, don't tell the other person who is probably not part of the problem or part of the solution. Talk to the person who is involved. Go straight to them and express how you feel. Let them know how it makes you feel or how it made you feel when they did a certain thing. Be sure to speak to the person who is part of the problem or part of the solution. Separate the people, or rather separate when you sharing with them, or when you're letting them know what the conflict is or what it is that they did that offended you. Separate the person from the mistake. Remember, we are not our mistakes. I could make a mistake today, but that mistake does not define who I am. And so separate the person from the mistake. Be gracious, be kind, be gentle. Speak the truth in love. Again, about gossiping, we also want to make sure that we do not wait too long to handle an issue or to address an issue, because the longer we wait, the bigger the problem gets, and it escalates, and we invite more problems, which later on lead to mistrust and animosity between colleagues or between friends. Now, there's a song that I love that was introduced to me by my oldest son, Isaiah, and the song is by Mandisa. And there's a line there that I really love, and she says, if we are going to fight, let us fight for each other and not fight each other. And here's a question for us, and especially us ladies. Can I adjust another sister's crown without telling the world that I adjusted it? Can you help someone in life without making it public and letting the world know that you're the one that helped that person? There's a Bible verse that I love that encourages us to not seek a reward from earthly men, but to want to be rewarded by people. By God, to look for our reward in God and not in men. Because when you receive your reward from men, then you will have received your reward in full. So ladies and gentlemen, especially us ladies, because it was a forum of ladies, let us adjust each other's crown without telling the world that we adjusted their crown. You don't have to go telling people that I'm the one that helped so and so to get to where they are. And by so doing, you will receive your reward in full from the one that matters most, who is our Father in heaven. Also, point number 3, let's talk about being positive. Focus on being positive. Every one of us has something positive about them. Think about a rose flower. A rose flower comes with both thorns and the flower. If you focus on the thorns, you will never see the beauty of the flower. If you focus on the flower, you'll never see, or you'll never catch the thorns, and both are important. And so we can choose to focus on the positive. Everyone, every single person has some good in them. It doesn't matter whether they are written off or who they are or what they do. Every one of us is good at something. Every one of us has that seed of goodness in them, because we are the children of God. And he says that everything he created was good. When he looked at it, he said it was all good. So what we want to do, we want to focus on the good. There's a quote that my mentor, John Maxwell, loves to use. And he says that what we focus on expands. And so I want to encourage us. Let us catch our colleagues. Let us catch our friends doing the right thing and publicly praise them. Catch them doing good and publicly praise them. It's also important to remember that not all the time that we're going to do what needs to be done. There are times when we will drop the ball. When someone drops the ball, either a colleague or a friend, again, remember we say that these principles are applicable anywhere, at whatever field that you're in, either in church, in a church setting, or at work, or in the community, or in your family. These principles can work anywhere. And so if you catch someone doing something that is not right, if they drop the ball, it is okay to correct them. But when it comes to correcting, you want to do it in private. And don't just go inviting yourself to correct people. If you want your advice or your feedback to be well received, you want to have had at least a relationship with that person. And if you do not have a relationship, or at least you know each other, either way, you still want to ask for their permission, ask for their consent. And this is what it should sound like. Hey, Sister Mary, can I give you some feedback about our meeting? Or can I give you some feedback about 1, 2, 3? When you do that, what happens is now they get curious. They want to hear what it is that you have to say. And so they will give you their consent. Now, when you get that opportunity, you want to be very gentle. You want to speak the truth in love. So you want to correct them privately, and you want to do it with a lot of grace and a lot of love. Now, remember that quote, that you attract more flies with honey than with vinegar. So be kind, be nice, and your words of correction will be taken nicely, and you'll start to see them adjust their lives at some point in their life. So once again, don't invite yourself to correct people. If you invite yourself to correct people, you will be inviting a fight. And who wants to get into a fight? We try to avoid problems as much as we can. Also, I'd like to add that positivity is attractive and it is contagious. And so be positive. Nobody wants to be around people that are negative. Nobody wants to be around people that are not kind, people that are not nice. Be positive, because positivity, it is attractive and it is contagious. So my friend, no one wants to be around you when you're not nice. So be nice so that you can attract what you want. There's a quote that I love by our mentor, John Maxwell. He says, you attract who you are. And then number 4, listen actively and seek to be understood. Listen actively and seek to understand people. Don't just assume. Don't jump into conclusions. Be slow to judge. In fact, we should never judge, according to my favorite book, the Bible. It reminds us not to judge others so that we shall not be judged. Actively listen. Practice active listening. When you talk to a friend or a colleague or a family member, listen. And there's a difference between hearing and listening. Actively listen. Because when you listen to people, you will understand where they are coming from. You will understand why they view life the way they do and why they do what they do. Some of the questions you may never even need to ask. If you actively listen, all your problems will be solved, all your questions will be answered. And even better, you will know how to address this particular person. For example, if someone is giving you a story about someone who offended them, all you need to do is listen. And you can learn how they would like to be treated when they are offended, or when in future. You never know. Things happen. You could step on their toe. You could do a major withdrawal. Remember, in the beginning, we talked about the emotional bank account. If you do a major withdrawal, then if you've taken time to listen to them, then you will know how they like to be treated, and you can treat them that way. 2 weeks ago, we had a disc training where we talked about the platinum rule, which states that treat people as they would like to be treated. The golden rule in the Bible says, treat people as you would like to be treated. But in disc assessments and personality profile, the platinum rule states that treat people as they would like to be treated. So you will know how to treat people or how they like to be treated by actively listening. Also, people respond to those who truly listen to them and tend to trust them. If you're a good listener, people will trust you. And then after they've allowed you to share their secrets with you, then they are left wondering, and how did I end up telling this person all the stories about me? It is because you are a good listener. So be a good listener. Be an active listener. Don't just be a hearer. Don't listen with the intention so that you can know how to respond. No. Just be there. Just be there. Listen. Sometimes you don't even need to say anything. All you need to do is listen. There are times when Daniel has listened to me with an intention to help me solve a problem. But sometimes I just want a vent. Sometimes I just want someone that can listen to me. And so, my friends, let us be good listeners. Focus on listening more than you talk, and you will quickly become known as someone who can be trusted. My mentor, John Maxwell, made a statement that was very interesting 2 times in 1 week. He said that assumption is the mother of all leadership mess-ups. Assumption is the mother of all leadership mess-ups. And I would like to tweak that just a little bit so that it can match our teaching today, and see that assumption is the mother of all relationship mess-ups. We tend to assume, and we don't seek to understand. So, my friends, let us be slow to judge. Let us not be quick to assume, because none of us is omnipresent. God is the only one that is omnipresent. Omnipresent meaning that He is everywhere at the same time. And only Him can understand and truly see what goes on even behind closed doors. So let us not be quick to judge. Let us not be quick to assume. Let's give people the benefit of doubt. But also, let us be curious. I love it when my mentors, John Maxwell and Christian Simpson, talk about curiosity. Curiosity. I loved it particularly when Christian Simpson talked about how you should be curious and ask questions. And I want to add there that you want to ask open-ended questions. Ask open-ended questions. For example, I can say something like, hey, Pastor Ruth, a good friend of mine, by the way. Hey, Pastor Ruth, I noticed yesterday you left your cubicle in such a hurry. Usually you say hello to me. And today yesterday I didn't hear from you. Was everything okay? See, what that does when you ask an open-ended question, you give them an opportunity to explain themselves. And if I am actively listening, then I will realize, oh, so she had this and this going on the whole day. And I would actually end up maybe even feeling guilty for having jumped into a conclusion. Many times we don't ask questions. We just jump into conclusions. And we start patching unrelated incidences together. And we make this quilt that is made up of pieces of unpleasant incidences. Why? Because we jumped into conclusions, because we judged people. Let us give people the benefit of doubt and instead ask curious questions, which are also open-ended. Finally, I want us to talk about setting boundaries. I would like to invite each and every one of us to set boundaries. Let's face it. I mean, all of us want to have close friends at work, close friends at church, close friends in our neighborhood. But there's a Kikuyu saying, a Kikuyu quote that says, if you eat raw food and cooked food, it will make your stomach hurt. That's in Kikuyu, meaning again, if you eat food that is raw or undercooked, they could end up upsetting your stomach. So let us not jump into making friendships. Let us take time to understand people, to observe people. You will not even need to ask them questions sometimes. If you just become approachable, if you become a good listener, if you're inviting and you're welcoming, if you're easy to talk to, if you respect other people, and if you're a good listener, people will come to you. And if you just listen and observe, you will get all the answers, or at least most of the answers that you need to determine if people or those particular individuals would make good friends for you. So let's not jump into making friendships. Let's take time. It is easier to invite someone into an inner circle than to banish them from an inner circle. That would cause more problems. It's easier for you to accept a friendship than to delete or block someone, right? And so let us take time before we bring people or before we invite people into our inner circle, and especially at workplace. And so take your time, don't rush. Don't rush into it. Get to know your colleagues, get to know what their values are. What do they believe in? What is their family like? What do they like to do? What don't they like to do? All right. And then another important thing as I close is we want to separate work life from home life. Separate home life from work life. Create that balance. Don't just focus on one thing and overlook the other. And don't let one bleed into the other. You want to separate your work life from your home life. Think about it. Most of us, before we joined our jobs where we are now employed, none of those people were our friends. We didn't know them. So why do we need to brief them or update them about what's going on in our personal lives? What's going on with our children? What's going on in our families, in our marriages? What's going on with our best friends? They don't need to know that. Leave some information to yourself. Leave people curious. You don't have to be an open book where you share everything about yourself. No. So be slow to invite people into your inner circle. Take your time, but be friendly to everyone. Respect everyone. Love on everybody. They deserve that. The Bible actually says that we ought to respect one another and love one another like we love ourselves. So that we owe to them. But as far as bringing them into your inner circle, be hesitant. Take your time. And also be careful not to bring them to speed as far as letting them know what's going on in your family or in your personal life. They are still your co-workers. Draw the line. Draw the line. And when it's time to go home, leave all your cares, your work cares at work. Leave all your work at work. And when it's time to go to work, leave your home cares at home. Don't mix the two. Be fully present at work and be fully present at home. And then when the time is right, invite a friend into your circle. Again, friendships run in circles. But ultimately, at the end of the day, there are things that we must do. We must love one another. We must respect everyone and all those wonderful things that we talked about in the beginning. So when you are at work, be fully at work. And when you are at home, be at home and leave the cares of work at the door so that again, we can have that balance. Be a mother, be a father, be a sister, be a son or a daughter or a brother at home without bringing the matters that the cares that you have at home or at work back to the house. All right, another important thing to note is always to do life in moderation. Even good things, when done excessively, they become useless and they could also become poisonous. So don't just dwell on one thing and overlook the other. Balance, have that balance in life. All right, so that brings us to the end of what we had prepared or what I shared on the other forum, the 5 things that will help us build strong relationships. And here they are again. We talked about developing people skills, where we talked about being relatable, treating everyone with respect, and being punctual, respecting people's time, and keeping promises. We also did talk about number 2, which is showing loyalty to friends and colleagues when they are absent. Don't say that which you wouldn't say about someone when they are absent. Publicly praise people, praise your friends publicly, and then privately correct them. And we also did talk about fighting for each other. Instead of fighting each other, let's fight for each other. Let us adjust each other's crowns as ladies without telling the world that we adjusted so-and-so's crown. Then number 3, we talked about positivity. We talked about being positive, focus on being positive. We say that positivity is attractive and it is contagious. And of course, no one wants to be around negative people. So let us be positive. And then second to last, we talked about being active listeners and not jumping into conclusion, asking open-ended questions, being curious when we don't understand. When we don't understand what's going on, instead of assuming, we ask questions. And then finally, we talked about setting boundaries. Life is short, enjoy it to the full. Actually, someone said that life is short, eat it with a big spoon, right? So have that work-life balance. Do everything in moderation. Don't overdo one thing and underdo the other. Otherwise, that was it for today. Thank you so very much for joining me. I hope you have been blessed, and I hope you have taken at least 3 points that you can start applying in your life immediately. And this can apply anywhere, in your friendships, in your family, in building new relationships, or at your workplace. Be blessed and have a relating, or should I say relational? Have a wonderful day and treat everyone with respect. Love on everyone, and a smile will go a long way for you. So smile. Thank you.